What's up, SGDI family? My name is Yusuf Jai.
And I am Shama Shazam, and we are the host of
SGDI Talks. And welcome to another episode. Today we got a really good topic on hand. But before we dive into the topic, as always, I'm going to turn it to our two amazing guests for them to introduce themselves, and then we're going to go right in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jalivia Krista. I am a published author, mental health advocate, as well as a digital creator on social media.
Hi, everybody. My name is Isata. I am 23 years old, and I am a senior at Temple University.
To you.
Hey, ladies, we appreciate you guys for being here with us. We're definitely going to dive into a deep topic today. So the topic that we have today is surviving a tragedy. And I can only imagine how many people are really going to take from this. So hopping right into it, if you guys don't mind, telling us about the tragedy that you survived and, how did it shape you?
So I guess I'll just start off first.
Yeah. Right.
So my tragedy happened back in January of 2017, and I basically survived a near-death experience. I came very close to death, going through a surgery that I had to get. It was like, something that was a medical issue. And, after that situation, I kind of went through like this depression state and survived a suicide attempt afterwards. So that's just like the summary of my survivor story.
Nice.
Wow. Okay. For me, it's a little bit on like not too long ago. I think I'm still like coming out of it.
Right.
But for the most part, kind of like to give like an overview. Spring of 2022, I lost my dad. And that was a very traumatic event for me because I actually was one of the people that was like present. I was the person that was present for that, and it kind of shocked me, and kind of like moving forward up until now, it kind of shifted me into like understanding that like my tragedy was more than just what was happening to me in that moment, but more so like a culmination of all the things that I've been experiencing since the spring of 2022. Okay. So, yeah.
Well, thank y'all for sharing that. And
Absolutely.
sorry about some of those things y'all had to go through. Yeah. And just to add a disclaimer, if at any time this conversation gets a little too deep, y'all want to take a step away, you guys feel right ahead and we can just reconvene. So I guess what I want to know too is, what going through these tragedies from both of y'all, which I just explained, what was some of those steps to get out of it? I know you said you're currently kind of still in the situation, so you can talk about how are you dealing with that right now? And for you, being as though that happened in 2017, what was the step that you take to get out of that?
For me, I want to say that I had what people would consider rock bottom. Yeah. So for that situation, I needed more than just help from my peers and my surrounding. I was in a situation where I felt like I needed a spiritual intervention.
Okay.
And so I want to say I didn't necessarily want to take those steps at the time, but it was like my last resort, and it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me because it kind of showed me that I needed God in a sense, and not just at that point in my life, but throughout my entire life. So those were like my steps. Like I kind of found out about therapy, got into therapy, but even after that, I felt like I was missing something. There was something missing always. I felt like I was continuously trying to fill a void. And so having a relationship with God is what really grounded me. And, from then on, I feel like it wasn't necessarily steps I had to take. It was just a realization like, okay, God is with me in this moment. He's with me throughout all my situations and hardships, and that's what kind of like really helped me.
Okay.
So,
Well, I think for me it was because as of right now, I think I'm in a very different space versus like kind of like the last few months or like even like the last year or so, but it's been a journey. I'm gonna say that for a fact because I would say that like I wasn't. It's like something that like you don't really believe when it happens, because it's like, am I really experiencing this, And then like coming into terms with that, I found freedom in that, because at first, you're scared and, like a lot of emotions are like coming and going. And I found solace in just, being aware of like my space and being aware of mentally where I am and constantly just checking in with myself because I felt like, you know, like I have this like background of like constantly being like, I have to push through anything I'm going through. Like even like, I feel like that's one of the things my dad like instilled in me, you know, like no matter how rough things are, you kind of just have to keep going with the pushes
Survival
of like, you
mode,
know, this
basically.
surviving the trials and tribulations. I felt that was the only way that I could kind of maneuver in my life, you know, but that kind of all went out the window when I fully like transferred into like a shelter where I was like, I'm very vulnerable right now, you know? And it kind of like stripped me from that, like, oh no, I have to keep the shield up, you know, at myself and like keep myself protected from that. And I kind of found strength in like realizing that like me being vulnerable and me, you know, checking in with myself and doing the little things to like keep myself going were the things that were making me stronger, you know? So that's how I kind of saw things.
So there's a lot of great things that you guys said that I definitely want to dive deeper into, right? So when we talk about tragedy, another T word that goes hand in hand is trauma, you know? And like trauma is something, you know, especially with, you know, men and women, boys and girls that look like us. It's something that we constantly are going through on a day-to-day basis. And fighting through it and just pushing through it is a lot of people do. You know, so I guess my question is, because you both kind of touched on it in different ways, the word vulnerability, you know, is a lot of times when people hear vulnerability, they think weakness, you know, and they think, oh, they're super scared of that, right? Can you kind of delve a little deeper or kind of give us a little bit of your perspective on how vulnerability strengthened you, essentially?
That's a very good question. So initially, you know, vulnerability, like my definition or my understanding, I should say, of vulnerability was always like you have to share things with people, right? You gotta be open to like, you know, to give what you know and also receive. And you know, growing up in a cultural background, I'm Haitian and Dominican. We were taught otherwise. We were taught to bottle up what we go through.
Absolutely.
We were taught that, you know, what we go through is to stay within the household, etc. So, you know, I had a whole different understanding of vulnerability. To now understanding that it's actually a superpower. Like it's amazing how when you're vulnerable in certain situations, not only do you teach other people, but you learn yourself. Like, so I think, you know, for me, vulnerability is something that I use often. It's a tactic for me now. You know what I'm saying? I don't hold it back. If anything, I'm willing to give it at any given moment. And this is for strangers, my friends, my family. This is for anybody. So I don't know. I think personally, I think that vulnerability is a strength within all of us. It's just a matter of time before we figure out how we can actually use that and, you know, maneuver, you know, throughout this life. But it's a superpower, trust me. And it's a game in every situation when you use it. You know what I mean?
It is.
Yeah, I definitely can agree to that. And I think especially like when it comes to the dynamic between like how you were raised and like how, you know, like what happened in your household with the world, like with the word of like vulnerability, you know, like how was vulnerability used in your household and how did that affect you, you know? I feel like with me growing up in my household, you know, like I come from a background like we're West African, we're from Senegal, Mauritania, and it was something that wasn't very like shown to me. You know, I didn't see much of vulnerability in my family unless it was more so like it was, you know, like a situation that happened that was like that needed it, or like, you know, like it was only for like, like a moment that just really needed that type of like vulnerability. Other than that, I didn't see much of it. You know, I saw mostly like my dad, for example, like he was very big on just gotta get to work, gotta get, you know, things going. You know, we can't stay in these emotions for too long. But I was the opposite, you know, like I feel like compared to my family, like I was very different in that way because I needed that, you know, I needed that type of vulnerability to sustain myself. And I feel like it got to a point where like recently, as of like, you know, as I'm growing and going through these transitions, I've noticed that like my vulnerability, it was a strength in myself and like how I used it and how I, used it to help myself. But it was used as a weakness, like how like others saw me, and how they took like pleasure in like just being able to use it against me in ways, because they knew it was a strength, but it was only a strength when they were using it against me. And so my strength came from understanding that, okay, like I know that this is something that, helps me and like keeps me going, but it was for myself, like keeping it for myself. I had to learn to withhold that vulnerability from like sharing it with others too much, and instead focusing it more so on myself.
I like that.
I like that too. I like that too. I think a lot of the times, just to piggyback on some things you guys said, I think we look at vulnerability as, just being completely bare.
Yeah.
Whereas though like vulnerability is that, but it also is kind of like, vulnerability is kind of like a window to connection, right? A doorway to connection. Because it's when you're most vulnerable is when you can be the most relatable. Because a lot of the times people are going through things that they don't talk about. Like one of the examples I often use is like, how back in the day when you're in class and you failed a test or something like that, you look over to your classmate and you're like, yo, what did you get? It's like, I failed. It instantly made y'all feel better. Like, all right, it's not just me, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of people, you feel me? But like just on a more serious note, how many people are going through the same type of traumas, but they're just like not being vulnerable enough to talk about it or just share that can help, or even being able to go through it and overcome it, but somebody's in it right now and they need you to be vulnerable.
I agree. And I think what you said is important, because we got to understand that we're all one and the same.
Yeah.
I think like my experiences really, really like taught me that like people only relate to what's real. So instead of me trying to like make my situation look like it was, although there is beauty in my situation, instead of me trying to put it out there as if it's perfect, let people know a little bit about, some of the things I struggle with. Yeah. And with that, I gained an audience. These are people who are looking to be better. Yeah. So it's a win in that. People really relate to what's real.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even on top of that, people like to identify with people sometimes they deem to have, whether it's a big platform or success, whatever the case is. When you hear that somebody goes through the same struggle as you, it just makes them more humanized in your eyes. So like you're somebody, I know you have a platform. I see some of the great work you're doing. But one thing I mentioned last year when I was going through my struggles is I function in, like, I'm a high functioning person when I'm going through things. So it even made me think about this quote I saw one time. I don't know if y'all heard it. It's like, thank God we don't look like what we've been through, I believe. So think about so many people out there right now that's going through so much, fighting a silent battle, but they're still showing up every day. So for those people that's out there who don't feel seen, who don't feel heard, what is one piece of advice y'all can give them, being as though you guys are on the platform right now and sharing your story? And I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to look at him like, wow, like I went through the same thing, or I would have never spoke on this because of X, Y, Z. So what is one piece of advice y'all could give to those people out there that just, just watching?
Right. I would say stay true to who you are. Be authentically you. And all that simply means is that, everybody has a different way of showing up. And what that may look like for you may be, small for someone else. And I just feel like in a world where we're constantly comparing each other, it's like, just stay true to who you are. Like, just be yourself, because like, honestly, I don't think I would have gotten this far if I wasn't being myself. Like, I feel like when you vibe, what they say, you vibe high, you find your tribe. It's like, I started being myself, and literally like all these people just started coming into my life. And I'm like, whether they come into my life and they're here for a long time or a short time, that's none of my business. Like, I just feel like as long as I'm being who I'm supposed to be and staying true to myself, then the people that come along and are here to stay gonna stay. And then everybody else just get the experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's like what you kind of said, like, like picking and choosing like what you're available to, and what you're not available to.
Talk about it.
Because I feel like that's something I'm learning and like kind of like, finding my way through, because at times like I feel like it's hard because I can't really like decipher like the difference between the two. But I think in just understanding that, like it's okay to not want to, pursue those that are not okay, like not the things that are not good for you, and to leave them where they're at, because, sometimes like that hurts us more than actually like, going to pursue those things. So I think one piece of advice that I would give is just to not let those experiences shape you. That's major. Because, at times we can get really lost in the experience of it and the hurt and the trauma and like the overall like just pain of going through that we can stay stuck in that. And, we can feel like, there's nothing else that we can see outside of that, that those emotions are, there for life, but the thing is they're not. They're only there for a moment, and it takes you understanding that you have the capabilities and like the ability to shape yourself in whatever way you see yourself and whatever way you want yourself to be, and that those experiences are only just wisdom for you to take along with you, And I think that's what's kind of helped me understand that I am not my experiences in those moments, like those experiences are only there to teach me, and then for me to take along with me as like wisdom. That's it.
I like that. I like that. Those experiences weren't there to be me, just teach me.
And it made me think of this quote, like when you said that, I wish I could even give the author credit, because it's so like life-changing, because I used this quote back when I felt like I was in this space, of the people that we're speaking to right now. And it's start where you are, do what you can, use what you have,
And do what you can. I love that one too. Yeah.
And without you even noticing, like, you really do have all you need to get you out of the situation and circumstances that you're in right now.
Yeah.
It's just your own thoughts telling you otherwise.
Yeah.
So it's your job to remind yourself that you have all you need, and you just need to use what you have,
And sometimes it be the subtle things that people say. I think because we all are in our own right entrepreneurs and we got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Sometimes we try to hit the nail on the coffin. But it's really, to that point, I think last year, one thing that stuck with me was when, shout out to my brother Wolf, he was talking to me and he said something like, when I was trying to make my business return, after going through that, he just was like, this time you're starting from experience, not scratch. And I'm like, yo, that's a fact. Because at one point, I was a beginner.
Yeah.
And I was so tricked up of like coming back, like how are people going to receive me? Am I going to be the same? Do I still have it? But I'm like, I have experience.
Right.
I'm starting from experience. Once upon a time, we started from scratch. And I think with everything you're going through, if you always look at it that way, you're actually starting from experience. No matter what you just went through, that's still there to serve you as something to learn from, something to take away from, gain wisdom, gain the knowledge from that. So that was definitely something that stuck with me.
So like, there's a lot of things we talked about and touched on, kind of in the realm of like vulnerability thing, because it's such a huge topic, right? We talk about vulnerability, but within vulnerability comes communication, and connection. With trauma and dealing with tragedy, I know for me, myself, there's a lot of things that have happened to me before. And a lot of people comment on, my relationship with my brother, and how close we are. I know Yush is one of the close people to me that whenever tragedy or anything like that throws my emotions or my headspace off happens, like Yush is one of the first people that I can automatically tell. Like no hold, I don't hold back. We don't hold back with explaining things to each other, because we understand each other. And having that brotherhood has really helped me with dealing with whatever tribulation or trial God got in front of me at the moment. So with that being said, like who are some crucial people or within your village that helped you within the tragedy that you guys went through? Who's your go-to, or if it's multiple, tell us a little bit about them.
So early on, because if we speaking just in general, I do have a younger sister. Her name is Saya. Shout out to Saya.
What's up, Saya?
What's up, girl?
So she is my younger sister. We're very close in age, though. I'm 1 year older than her. And, for her to be like what I would consider as like a best friend, I think that she has always been my go-to by default. But even getting older and us having the relationship that we have now, I realized that she was always my best friend and always somebody that I can confide in, versus people who came along throughout my life journey. So I do have, you know, my best friend Laura. Like I feel like she's somebody that when you talk about youth, how you just started talking about, she's the first person that came to my head, literally. She's somebody that I confide in for many reasons. One of them being, you know, we have like similar understandings when it comes to life in general. Like the perspectives that we share are very similar. And so I can go to her with no filter. You know what I mean? Like it's not, no holding nothing back, and I don't have to worry about how she's going to respond. So I think like that's really important. And, you know, my dad is like somebody that literally I would call for anything, like anything. Because I feel like spiritually he understands what I go through. Not everybody understands that. And so I stopped putting that on people because that's another thing. But yeah, those are like just a few. Like I don't have a huge tribe. But yeah.
Less is more sometimes though.
Yeah, less is more.
It's about the quality of the people you got. So that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I think I like that what you kind of use, like the word tribe, you know, like I feel like our tribes are usually like forever going, like we're constantly finding people to like add on to our tribe, you know. I think for me, like it's one of those things where like I'm still finding those people who I can connect to and like have as like those that, you know, kind of serve as like a support system for me. Because I feel like for me, like it was one of those things where once, you know, those experiences happened, I kind of retracted. And I was just like, I can't deal with anything outside of me right now, you know? So like it's one of those things where like I find it hard at times to like confide in people because like, you know, like it's just an experience that I feel like I'm not as open to at times, but like I've also like realized that at times it works against me, you know, because those moments when I need the most support, those moments when I need the most, you know, like just somebody to talk to, you know, like somebody to confide in, like, just be open with, you know, like after I do it, I'm like, whew, like
weight is lifted.
It's a release.
Like, life be life.
Like, I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't know that was something that I was holding on to for so long, you know. But I think, you know, I can definitely say like, you know, there's few people who I do like see that they're there for me, you know, and that they support me and that they give me that space to actually open up and, you know, just talk about the things that are going on with me, you know, and it makes a whole lot, it makes a different, like a bigger, you know, like difference. Like it makes a big impact because that's what helps you kind of feel like, okay, like I'm not alone, you know, like even if like these situations and like these experiences can feel lonely at times, you know, like the people that you talk to and confide in can help you kind of, you know, settle in those. You know? So
that's so true. That's so true.
Oh, that's a fact. It's crazy. This every time a topic like this, it always like hits me, but in a good way because it's a relief and it's refreshing because I always think about, again, the people that's watching. There's so much people that don't have this outlet. So much people that don't have a voice. There's so much people that didn't survive a tragedy. You know, we're in a position where you guys are living to tell your story. And that's amazing in itself. It just shows that God showed that you guys are blessed and highly favored. And for everybody that's watching, I think I just want them to know that I pray that everybody finds that somebody.
Yes.
Everybody should have somebody to at least talk to. Like the world... To have billions of people, nobody should feel alone. And
for sure.
I just always just use this as a gratitude moment for us to just be grateful for the things that we do have at our disposal, the people that we do have to lead with love and just provide that space for us because this is not something we take for granted.
For sure.
And something that we have like this, who's to say is going to be something that we can have forever. Life is a fleeting thing. So, so I just pray that everybody finds that and you guys continue to go on and do great things because, like I said, God made us on purpose and he made us on purpose with a purpose. So nobody should think they're here by accident. And Shai, you got any closing remarks before we head on out?
This is like, I just really think that you guys are very, very strong because there are a lot of people who haven't, you know, survived or are still going through it. I definitely believe in a higher power, and I believe that we all go through cycles. You know, if you haven't learned what you need to learn at that time, you're gonna go through it again until you do. And there's a lot of people who are going through the same cycles like year after year. And it's really unfortunate sometimes. So it's really good to see those who are either overcoming, you know, or just acknowledging that you're going through it.
Yeah.
You know, because they always say it all the time. One of the biggest steps of solving a problem is the understanding and acknowledging that there is a problem.
Yeah.
And within our society, there's many problems.
Yeah.
And so talks like these are very much needed. And just like you said too, we're happy that you guys do have people. And for those people out there who you don't have people right now, or maybe you're just not paying attention to the people, you kind of need to start implementing that vulnerability that we talked about. It's not to say that you need to just tell anybody at the shopping mall, you know, like your business, but be a little bit more intentional with paying attention to the connections that you're having, and just try something new. You can't really find new results doing the same thing, you know. So try something new, especially if it's the repetition of a single friend or family member that, you know, constantly checks in on you, or constantly popping up, constantly asking you, how are you doing? Don't give them a generic answer, you know. I think a lot of friendships are are built on the highs, but really they crumble with the lows, where it should be vice versa. You know, the friendship should be built on the lows so that you can enjoy the highs together. So just because you're going through whatever you're going through doesn't mean you won't get out of it. But how you choose to get out of it is completely up to you. It's something that, you know, we went to high school, and I went to Upper Darby High. It's something they used to say all the time, every morning: make it a great day or not, the choice is yours. You know, so like, you want to stay within you want to stay, or you want to get better, regardless of the fact. Just make a choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And on that note, I just want to thank y'all once again. This was an amazing episode. I hope y'all had a great time.
I did.
And we definitely going to have y'all information on here too, just in
Yeah.
case people want to reach out, want to seek advice. The pleasure was ours, and we hope to connect again in the future.
For sure.
Thank you so much.
And with that being said, for everybody watching, thank you for watching this episode. For everybody, one last word I'll tell y'all: check on your friends. Check on your strong friends. Check on your funny friends. Check on the people that you know are accustomed to doing certain things, and pay attention to patterns. If you see a pattern breaking, maybe that's a sign. And when you're checking on somebody, also put yourself in their shoes. We always tend to think somebody's acting funny, when in reality, they may be fighting a silent battle that we don't know about. So thank you for watching. I hope this meant as much to you as it meant to us. So make sure you share, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Hey.
Thank y'all.
That was such a good episode.
Thank you for tuning in to SGDI Talks. We appreciate your continued support. And if any of the conversations really resonate within you, make sure you subscribe. Aside from subscribing, make sure you share this content with anyone you think will benefit from it. Again, we appreciate your continued support, and let's continue the conversation.